Hi, I'm Sophia Keeler. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Coastal Bend in Corpus Christi, and I am here with you today with Susan Clower from Prime Lending, and our walk and talk today is going to be about the pre-approval process. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you get some useful information out of this. So Susan, can you tell me just a little bit about why it's important to get a pre-approval before you start shopping for a home?
Definitely. I think, and I encourage all realtors to think this way, definitely get pre-approved before you start showing people houses, because if they can't buy immediately, you don't want to, get their hopes up for something that isn't the right timing. But I also think that there's never a no in my business. It's just maybe a not right now. So I encourage everyone to call before y'all start looking at houses so that we can not waste anyone's time.
So how would it be a waste of time if someone were to just decide to start shopping for a home? They want to wait until they know they found something that they like before they contact a lender and start that process.
I think the pre-approval process and the mortgage process is so detailed that I think it's smart for them to know what they're looking at as far as payment, as far as closing costs, how much money they're going to need at the closing table. Again, going back to, it's really hard once you get a house that you love and then you're disappointed because you possibly can't afford it or can't qualify for it, because houses are going quick. And so, you don't want to get your heart set on something that you just can't do right now.
I know that I've heard people voice a concern before that they don't want to start the pre-approval process too soon because they're worried that it might harm their credit as their credit starts getting pulled by multiple lenders.
Great question. So mortgage pulls on a credit report don't necessarily affect the score. For instance, like when you're going to shop for a car and 20 banks pull your credit. So typically within a 30-day time period, mortgage pulls should not affect a credit score. Credit reports are good for 90 days. So sometimes if you have someone borderline, it might be beneficial to run it again after 90 days just to make sure that they haven't fallen below our benchmark. But typically if I have someone that's pre-approved and it's been over 90 days, they haven't found a home yet, I try to not run it again immediately, knowing that their situation probably hasn't changed that much.
So does that initial credit report pull affect their score a little bit?
It shouldn't. If it does, it is ever so slightly. It truly shouldn't. Mortgage pulls are supposedly kind of a protected, I guess, pull, if you will, but it is a hard pull on your credit.
And then what does that process look like? What is the first step for someone that's looking to get a pre-approval to purchase a home?
For me, I typically send them to my website, which has an online application. An application is going to give me a big picture of kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at their assets, I'm looking at their income, I'm looking at their debt. All sorts of different things, kind of big picture looking at to see how I can get them approved. So first step is loan application.
Okay. Once they fill out that loan application, how long does it usually take for them to hear back from you?
It depends on how busy the loan officer is that day, but literally we can get word back, and I definitely try to be the same day that they apply, I get back to the realtor and the borrower at that time. So, I mean, I can do them as quickly as in an hour if I just happen to be sitting there and, waiting for it to come in.
Okay, and what type of information will they need to provide initially with the application, and then when they follow up with you, what additional information do you usually request?
Technology is an amazing thing, and so you're going to need social security number, date of birth, living addresses for the last, residency addresses for the last 2 years, and then employment information for the past 2 years. So just kind of basic information that they put in, and then from there, I run my magic.
Okay, so you mentioned that sometimes it's a not yet. Would that be in situations where maybe their credit score isn't quite where it needs to be?
Sure. Credit score maybe isn't right where it needs to be, or maybe we've approved them in a price range that maybe is a little lower than they want at this time. And so with maybe their next raise, they could potentially, buy a little bit more, so it is beneficial for them. Typically, though, the not right now does have to do with credit.
Okay.
And we have a great program that we can run them through that tells us some hints of what they can do, maybe pay down or possibly, open an account with maybe a parent. So all sorts of different things that they can do to then boost their score to get us to the point where we can buy.
And when you say pay down, what do you mean by that?
So for instance, on a credit card, if you have a $5,000 limit on a credit card, the bureaus like to see that you're maintaining a balance of 30% of that limit or less, you're making your payments on time, and you're not opening up a new line of credit, every time you turn around. So that's kind of how they score things, is how you're able to manage your credit. Credit scores, in my opinion, it's a little bit counterintuitive. If I have no debt, you would think that maybe that would give me like the perfect credit score. It doesn't necessarily. You've got to have debt to be able to give the credit bureaus something to score you on.
Okay.
So no debt is not necessarily a good thing.
Okay. And then as far as credit score, what is usually the minimum credit score that someone would need in order to get a mortgage?
We can go down to a credit score of 580. I will tell you that sometimes it's hard to get approvals on a credit score that low. I would say 620 and above. I typically can work within those and work an approval.
Okay. And any other important information that you feel like people would need to know as they're going into that pre-approval process?
We have automatic asset verification, which is part of the application that you sign up for. And it is a wonderful, where you just put in your banking information and it's going to pull your balances directly from the bank to where you don't have to know how much money that day you have in the account. You don't have to send a copy of your earnest money check clearing your bank.
Okay.
So it helps us document where your money's coming from for closing without having to provide a bunch of paperwork.
And how long can a person usually expect it to take to, like if they find the home, they put the offer on the home, it's been accepted, they're under contract, how long does it typically take for a file to be ready to close?
Yeah, great. So we are closing all day long in 30 days or less right now in this market.
Great. Well, I definitely appreciate you providing us with this useful information. If anyone has any other questions, where can they reach you, Susan?
Great. Susan Clower with Prime Lending. My cell phone number is 361-947-0038. And Sophia's going to put the link to my application and website in the information below.
Great. And I am Sophia Keeler. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams, Coastal Bend in Corpus Christi. You can reach me at 361-756-1900, and my additional contact information will also be provided in the video. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.